know he's the shove-it man.
Wrestling is full of questions. Just how much do we still not know about Vince McMahon? Did Shawn Michaels really lose his smile? Who was behind the Montreal Screwjob? And who truly is better than Kanye? But for me, a bigger question is, just how in the blue hell did the Sandman manage to keep a job in the WWE for 15 months? You all know the guy, ECW legend who drinks beers, did time for bar fights, hits people with his cane, smokes and sounds like he's on just about every type of drug possible. And he looks like this. Yes, this guy. Between 2006 and 2007 he managed to hold down a job, despite being the Sandman. He doesn't exactly fit in with the showbiz world of the WWE. He probably hasn't had a shower since his mum pissed on him when he was born. I've always liked the Sandman. For me, he just about does enough in the ring to say he's more than a hardcore wrestler. He actually does have some athleticism, and he's a big character. Wrestling really misses real life characters like him, but he's still just a common guy off the street who doesn't exactly match the WWE's image of a wrestler. So in this video, I wanted to find out exactly what he'd been doing for so long and how he kept that job.
Today's video was also a Patreon request by the Wrestling Archive. If you want to make the Hawk talk, sign up today.
Now originally the Sandman was booked for the ECW reunion show One Night Stand in 2005 where he teamed up with Tommy Dreamer and lost to the Dudley Boys. But the WWE decided to make their own ECW TV show on Sci-Fi the following year, and Sandman was one of the very first faces we'd get to see. In the very first match of the new ECW, by the way. But the Sandman probably wishes he hadn't bothered as he faced a zombie. His second match was another comedy match against Macho Libre. At least the Sandman looked intense for these comedy fights. His first proper feud would start a few shows later. Mike Knox was unhappy of his girlfriend Kelly dancing for the camera, so he was being heavy-handed with her. The Sandman came to her aid with a little help from his cane. The very first singles match between these two wasn't very good. It didn't last long and the Sandman accidentally smacked out Kelly with his stick. Props to her for taking that one. Mike Knox beats him with 2 kicks to the slash zone. It felt like whatever legacy the Sandman had was quickly being eroded. The feud wasn't done though, unfortunately. Sandman playing this sort of white knight role, I just don't really see why the Sandman's character would care about any of this. In the second match, they take his cane away, but the Sandman ain't playing that game and retrieves his cane, leading to the Sandman almost hitting Kelly with a cane once again, but then he's dumped by Test. A big, scary bodybuilder who always seemed to end up in storylines where he was offensive, sexist, and domineering to blonde women. Tommy Dreamer was also feuding with Test, so the four came together to fight for the right for Kelly or something. To be able to dance, I guess. They do an Extreme Rules tag match. This actually is a lot of fun. These 4 guys beat the hell out of each other. The crowd are hot and happy to see their heroes once again in the Hammerstein Ballroom, and it actually feels close enough to the real ECW. Well, I think in real ECW, Sandman would have probably chosen to cane Kelly, and not by accident. He would have just smacked her one. Even this match is more about Tommy Dreamer though. Paul Heyman is being a dick to the ECW originals and forces Sandman to have a handicap match. He's DQ'd. This feud between these 4 doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. Why would Test not want her to strip? It doesn't make any sense. The Sandman still clearly has the ability to pull off his moves, but he wasn't getting many opportunities to do them. Matt Striker ends up joining the feud on the heel side, just because, contrasting characters I guess. Striker basically thought the Sandman was an uneducated moron. Striker ducked and dived in for weeks. Sandman did finally get a chance to get his hands on Striker in a 6-man tag, but in the early stages of the match, Sandman is knocked off the ring apron into a barricade. And that one move caused the Sandman to be too injured to continue the match. Give me a break. This man is supposed to be hardcore and now he's being eliminated from a match just from falling into a barricade. This was disrespectful to his hardcore legacy. Wow, we get a segment with Jim Ross, Matt Striker and the Sandman. What a random 3 friends to have on screen at the same time. It's just ridiculous. When could you ever expect to see these 3 people in the same place at the same time? The Sandman does manage to extract some revenge here by letting Jim Ross cane Matt Striker. Ross endorses the Sandman as the next ECW champion. And just like that, the Sandman gets a shot at the ECW World title held by the Big Show. Long-time fans of ECW are probably praying to Sonny Siaki's ass that the Sandman could capture the title and help make WWE ECW feel more like the real ECW. But alas, no. It is a competitive match where the Sandman destroys Big Show with his cane, and he comes close to beating him multiple times, but Matt Striker screws over the Sandman. Actually a pretty fun match. With every week that goes by, you can audibly hear the crowd getting more and more annoyed at the treatment of the Sandman. Striker just keeps beating him. After what felt like months, it seemed the feud was finally going to be settled in a Singapore cane on a pole match. Hey, can't blame Russo for this one. Sandman wins when Striker bails on the match. Yay, hardcore. This next one made me laugh. The Sandman was open for voting at Cyber Sunday to face Umaga. It was either him, Kane or Chris Benoit. Safe to say the Sandman did not win this fan poll. The Sandman disappeared from ECW for the next couple of months. He does get to have a hilarious and random segment with Vince McMahon, who is of course shocked at the Sandman's drinking on the job and general scruffy appearance. He returns, losing a 1-minute match to Elijah Burke. He shouldn't have bothered coming back. How are you going to beat the Sandman just falling off the top rope? The Sandman enters the Royal Rumble 2007. Doesn't go well, and Booker T eliminates him. The next actual storyline for the Sandman was taking part in the feud between the ECW Originals and the New Breed. This storyline would actually lead to some nice paydays. You would assume so for the Sandman, as the feud between the two factions often made it onto pay-per-view, most notably at WrestleMania 23. It just feels strange to me, but good for him. Team ECW win, and I guess that one's a career highlight for the Sandman. He busted out a couple of big moves, no complaints. But this feud would continue, it's just so pointless and strange. The New Breed are not compelling opponents because it's the most random group of wrestlers ever, and they are mostly green, so the matches can't be very good. Anyway, the Sandman continues wrestling, but he's not the main character, he's mostly just there to take the pin. A 1-minute loss to Gene Snitsky. Give me a break, why can't there ever be a silver lining in these videos? Sabu was fired from the WWE and Rob Van Dam took a break, so the factions feuding just kind of ended, although the Sandman continued teaming with Dreamer, because they're both ECW blue collar guys. The Sandman had his last ECW match in June, where he was on the losing side of a 3-on-1 handicap match as Bobby Lashley squashed the ECW guys. And you might think that that's where this video ends, and it would make sense. They don't really seem to have any plans for him, he's potentially unreliable, and the WWE doesn't want to actually try with ECW. Well, this might shock you, but as it turns out, Vince McMahon was actually a massive fan of the Sandman's gimmick, and Sandman was drafted to Raw. Now this was something that the Sandman really didn't want to do, as he didn't know anybody on the main roster and just wanted to wrestle with his friends on ECW and have a good time. His time on Raw was miserable. He also thought his main roster call-up was a joke. It all starts off promising enough with an entertaining backstage segment with Carlito. Carlito spits apple in his face, and the Sandman retaliates, spitting beer in his face. Straightforward, simple comedy. Sandman makes his entrance walking around the entire ring on top of the crowd barrier, probably the most athletic thing in this entire video. Sandman gets DQ'd in his very first match for using a cane. His feud with Carlito never goes anywhere except a bunch of DQ finishes and a terrible pay-per-view match at the Great American Bash. A Singapore cane on a pole match. Can't blame Vince Russo for that one either. He loses despite this supposedly being his match. He almost gets a big moment on Raw when he entered a battle royal with the winner becoming the new general manager. The field just kept narrowing, but the Sandman remained in the battle royal. He eliminated Carlito and Shelton Benjamin as the crowd erupted with happiness. They thought he'd won. Then William Regal just enters the match late and throws out the Sandman to become the new GM. We were robbed of seeing the Sandman as the Raw general manager. Can you imagine? Another thing that we were robbed of was the Sandman being Vince McMahon's illegitimate son. Vince had all the male wrestlers come to the ring. They played a game where they slowly eliminated the wrestlers who were not his son. The very first group to be sent away was anybody who was extreme. Whilst the ECW roster left, the Sandman did not leave. Maybe he was just confused because he's on Raw now and not ECW at this point. The Sandman looks like he's falling asleep. The next elimination was everybody who is not a champion has to leave. The Sandman still doesn't leave. Maybe he's the beer drinking champion? The next people to leave is anybody who's not white, so Sandman still doesn't leave. Vince calls the remaining candidates into the ring. Sandman is still here. The next clue is that Vince's son has fair hair. The Sandman still qualifies. This is hilarious. The next clue is that his son is an individual, so not a tag team. Sandman still qualifies to be his son. I'm on the edge of my ass here, this is so funny. JBL, Triple H, and the Sandman are the final three. The final clue is that Vince McMahon's son loves to play the game. Sandman leaves, although he shouldn't, because I'm told he loves drinking games. That whole segment was hilarious because the Sandman was meant to leave at the very start. The Hornswoggle reveal was fake. The Sandman is Vince McMahon's son. Mystery solved. He wrestled his final WWE match against Santino Marella with yet another DQ finish. The image of Santino chasing the Sandman with the cane whilst he dumps his nappy of fear is horrible. Then he falls over, potentially causing himself an injury. The Sandman was fired from the WWE. His retelling of the firing isn't very good, but it involved a WWE tour in Africa, and Ricky Steamboat was unhappy about the Sandman holding a cigarette by a plate. There was probably a bit more to it than that. I really do enjoy the Sandman. He's different to anything else on the screen, yet at the same time he isn't playing a wacky, unrealistic character. Or maybe it's just the fact that the Sandman in the WWE seems like some kind of fever dream. He didn't get to do too much in the WWE. He is capable of more, but there wasn't really any singles matches that were good. But as a character, I enjoyed him. The problem is, it's hard to know where you go with him. Should the Sandman have been Vince McMahon's son? That could have been funny, let me know. Ultimately, this just came to being a bit of a nostalgia act like many legends of the business have late in their careers, and maybe that's okay. Or maybe that Raw management role would have been alright. Being an ECW guy probably doomed him from the start. The one thing I will say is I'm pleased to say that he stayed true to himself and tried to prevent WWE killing the aura of his character. And if you don't agree with that, I'll take your girl and show you how to handle her.